Welcome to the Axiom Show. My name is Troy, and thanks for joining me in my discovery of what is true. Today we're going to talk about the Maduro capture, and we'll jump right into it with President Trump's own words.
I've never seen anything like this. I was able to watch it in real time, and I watched every aspect of it, and I listened to the communication between, where we were in Florida and out in the field in Venezuela. And it was amazing to see the professionalism, the quality of leadership, the professionalism. General Raisin Kane is fantastic. Don't forget, we did another one not so long ago. It was called the knocking out of the Iranian nuclear threat, the nuclear power. And that was unbelievable what they did there. And this is something that, I don't know, it's amazing.
All right. Always amazing. Always the biggest and the most awesome is Donald Trump and the U.S. military. Okay, so what do you guys feel about that? I see a hypothesis on Axiom, the Free Thought Network, and the hypothesis is this. The attack on Venezuela beginning January 2nd, 2026, conducted by the U.S. military, was an immoral and unconstitutional decision by President Trump, and also immoral actions by each soldier involved. Okay, so that hypothesis, is that true, false, or do you not know? That's the question today. One movie that came to my head was Wag the Dog. I don't know if you younger people have seen it, but I recommend the 1997 film Wag the Dog. It was kind of based on the Clinton sex scandal and the I'd say the Yugoslavian war, the war in Yugoslavia. But yeah, the same thing holds true. War is a wonderful, wonderful distraction. So it holds true today, that one can hold a war. First of all, play up in the media how bad a leader of another nation is. They were talking about the drug boats and that he's a narco president and he's a communist and whatnot. And he very well may be a bad guy, this Maduro. But that isn't the point. Let's, first of all, unconstitutional. The hypothesis talks about it being unconstitutional. Okay, so I'll go down this road, but I'm not really a constitutional guy anyway. But just to back that statement up, it's Ron Paul. I'll put this article in the show notes. It's decades of unconstitutional wars and why a president shouldn't be able to just start a war with just a decision, right? It's got to go to, war has to be declared and it's got to be voted on by the Congress. That'll be Ron Paul's point in this article, and his point all his life, I guess. And he's right. He's right about that. In my opinion, I'm more of a anarchist. Like I read Lysander Spooner's The Constitution of No Authority. So, I'm of the position that Constitution hasn't protected us from the government's overreach yet, and it's failed. The Constitution has failed. So I'm not really one can point to the Constitution and say the war is unconstitutional, which is correct, but the Constitution hasn't stopped tyranny from within the United States. The United States has a corrupt government itself, and hey, that's why they want to distract you from your problems at home. They want to distract you. So so I covered the point about unconstitutionalness. Yes. The president doesn't have authority in the Constitution. Correct. That is true. Military men following orders. Should they be held accountable following orders if they're unconstitutional? You know, I say yes. People were strung up. In Germany when they lost that war, and they were the only bad guys in that war, even though all sides were bad. They lost, and a lot of them got hung for it, for their, just following orders things. So yeah. So for anything you do, just because your superiors tell you have to do it, people should have their own minds. And I know they teach soldiers, get them young, they indoctrinate them, and they teach them to follow orders. My advice is don't go into the military, and you won't be in the position where you have to, either disobey an order or murder somebody. So there you go. That's my opinion on that. People are happy in the streets. Yes, you can look at on Twitter. You can look on the hashtag Venezuela Libre. Venezuela, I assume Libre means liberty. You can look at that hashtag and you can see some people dancing in the streets, and there's some happy people in Venezuela right now. And no doubt, yeah, they do want to change, because most governments, if not all governments, are corrupt and evil, and are parasites that live off the people, and people want change from time to time. So in a lot of countries, they give you democracy, which is the illusion of power over your politicians, but it's really not. And this is going to be, there we go, this right here, people dancing.
Al gobierno de Trump por esta libertad que nos está brindando. De alguna manera se convierte.
Muchos años esperando esta pronta libertad, que todavía, pero por lo menos estamos saliendo de una de las peores rabias, esperando esta pronta libertad, que todavía.
Look at that. That's when did the bombs start flying? That's pretty fast turnaround in Venezuela to print that banner. It's almost like the CIA was on the ground beforehand to get some propaganda printed. That's quite neat.
Todavía, pero por lo menos estamos saliendo de una de las peores ratas de Venezuela.
Gracias al gobierno de Trump por esta libertad que nos está brindando. De alguna manera se convierte, junto a Edmundo González y a María Corina Machado, en los libertadores de Venezuela.
Esto es algo que no sé cómo explicarlo, o sea, es una emoción indescriptible.
So, but that's not the point here. The point is right here. I'll show you something, and we'll discuss whether it applies. So we should wag the dog here. Okay, there it is. I don't want to sign in. I want to look at this picture. Okay. So anyway, it's the golden rule. And the golden rule is obviously do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Okay. So let's expand that, extrapolate that out into nation states. Okay. So America is, the big dog still, and it can basically do whatever it wants. And I'm listening to people on Twitter. Americans, brag that they can, most countries they can take out in a day. Yeah, it's easy to, with the technology you guys have, to take out a leadership in a day. Yes, but then now you're nation building. Yeah, I pointed out the people dancing in the streets right now, but that happened in Iraq. Everybody was. I remember watching the propaganda. I think it was about I don't know, the first Iraq War, I was 19 years old. Um, and, but yeah, there was a lot of propaganda. On the second, when they took out Saddam in the second invasion there was a lot of propaganda and people dancing in the streets, toppling statues, and yep. So, but what happens, right? It's totally destroyed the country. Iraq was better off with Saddam Hussein, and the same thing. A lot of propaganda beforehand. Oh, Saddam Hussein's an evil dictator. Sure, he was an evil dictator. Yep, and under him, there was relative peace, and now it is just a shithole. Same thing with Libya. Look what they did to Libya, another oil-rich country. And they took him out. Like, Libyans, they had gold reserves. They had, I understand, the government paid for it. It wasn't a democracy, but the government paid for a lot of the stuff, and they were relatively wealthy to what they are now. I haven't looked into this next statement, but myself, but I heard that Libya has degraded so much. There's a slave trade there. If you want, like, slavery was abolished, but it's back in Libya. Because they're so fucked up, their nation is so destroyed. After Hillary Clinton was the responsible party there, took out Gaddafi, and they took his gold, and that was it. Destroyed the nation. Okay, so U.S. government has a long history of intervention. It's not the only bad government. Canadian government's horrible. Like, we tag along and support most of your military things, and we bombed. Our taxpayers have paid for airplanes and paid for bombs and bombed Yugoslavia, Serbia, for instance. We're very guilty of that. We're very guilty of supporting Ukraine and giving them a false hope that they could fight against Russia. Basically, the Ukraine war. I'm digressing a lot, but yeah, there's like, I think 1.9 million Ukrainian soldiers dead, and that is partially Canadian intervention. The British, the Americans, a lot of European countries are responsible for that, or the leadership of those countries are responsible for that, and as taxpayers and we're responsible for that too, actually. So there's blood in our hands, and this is just another thing happening. Okay, so Maduro, Nicolás Maduro, was he a narco-communist dictator? Okay, maybe, sure. I'll say he was, just for argument's sake. But what's coming next? Is there going to be can they bring in a guy like the Argentina president, Milei? That would be interesting if this chick, that's obviously, I don't know her name, but she's probably on this feed here. She won a Nobel Peace Prize, and they've been obviously planning this for a long time, getting her recognition. I don't know if that's her or that's a reporter. I don't know enough about Venezuela, so correct me what her name is in the comments. But anyway, let's make sure I covered all my points here. Yeah, I think I did. So yeah. And on axiom.info, you can post any hypothesis you want, and you can, every 24 hours, there's something called the Acorn Drop. It rewards people for debating ideas. So you post a hypothesis, and I'll show you some examples here. Oops. Yeah, there's a lot of There's hundreds posted, and there's debate under each one. You can post your evidence, true or false, and unlike other social media platforms, the true and the false side is always represented without censorship. So you can post away there and earn acorns, and I highly recommend it. So axiom.info is the website. If you want to onboard easily, you can go to axiom.social. And yeah, thanks very much for watching. My name is Troy, and this is Axiom Show. Peace.